What's going on, guys? My name is Naz and welcome to the Spooling Up channel. Today we're going to be having a look at my MK4 GOLF GTI, but specifically having a look at the brakes. The reason is that I actually bought a bigger brake upgrade for the car, and although it's not an aftermarket kit, as some of you may know, you can chop and change some of the brakes from other VAG models, Audi, Seat, Volkswagen, to get a nice big brake kit on this car. So at the minute, how it actually comes is with the MK4 GOLF GTI, you've got 288mm vented discs on the front, and you've got 232mm solid discs on the rear. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting 312mm vented discs on the front and 256mm vented discs on the back, just from other VAG models. Like I said, you can chop and change them because a lot of them come with sort of the same brakes, some cars with bigger, some with smaller, but you can all get them to fit. So the front brakes I've got are actually from a Mark 1 Audi TT, and the rear brakes that I've got are actually from a Seat Cupra R. But I'll show you what I've got now, and yeah, go into a little bit of detail and explain why I've bought it. Right, guys, so what we have here in the boot of the Golf is two 312mm vented front discs from a Mark 1 Audi TT Quattro 225 brake model. Also, obviously, I've got the calipers, which I'll just be refurbing and getting them look real nice. I'll try and make the discs look a lot better as well before I fit them. These discs are actually 25mm thick, I believe. So the front setup is brilliant, no problems. Then I actually have 4 rear calipers. I'll explain to you why in a minute. There's one of the caliper carriers that I've got for the rear. Here's the other one. So these two discs are 256mm, and I believe they're from a Seat Cupra R, and they're actually 22mm wide vented discs now. And obviously I've got 2 calipers here off a Seat Cupra R, and I've got 2 MK4 GOLF R32 calipers, which are exactly the same, but I had to buy these 2 calipers in order to get the carriers off them, because what's actually happened is I bought these off someone from Facebook. This is one correct caliper carrier for the setup that I have, and this is an incorrect one. This one's actually for the standard brakes. As you can see, it's only wide enough for the 9mm solid disc, whereas I need it to be wide enough to accommodate the 22mm wide vented discs that I've now got for the rear. So I can use that, but I can't use this, unfortunately. So I had to buy these calipers to get the caliper carriers, but it's fine because I'll be giving these a nice little refurb as well. I'll just be taking one of the caliper carriers off, and hopefully I can sell the calipers by themselves. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just going to be giving these brakes a good rub down with the wire brush, and then hopefully getting them painted and looking good, and then they'll be ready to go on the car. With these rear ones, they look pretty fresh, but someone's actually done quite a bad job painting these. They haven't rubbed them down or anything or done any prep work. They've literally just got the brush out and painted filthy parts. So I'll be trying to do a little bit of a better job. But yeah, this is the setup I've got. So that's 312 fronts, 256 rears gone from solid to vented, and the calipers on the front are pretty much the same, but the rear ones are upgraded. So let's go and start rubbing these down. Okay guys, so I've literally been dying to come out and sort these calipers out over the past couple of days, but the weather's been so bad I haven't been able to. So obviously here is one of the front TT calipers and caliper carrier pads, etc. What I'm going to do is I'm going to strip it all down, just so I've got the caliper and the carrier separate. Then I'm going to start work on preparing it all. So I know there's 2 7mm Allen bolts to separate it from the carrier, and obviously you're going to need to undo the front spring clip. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this all apart now and split it into the separate parts. Right guys, so I hope you can see how grimy everything is. on the caliper carrier. All of this old paint or coating, some kind of coating on here, is all coming off and everything's filthy. So I think I'll start with the caliper, and I'm also going to try and squeeze the piston back just to make sure that it's definitely 100% not seized. But yeah, hopefully in the next clip I'll show you all of these bits nice and clean, or at least on their way anyway. Okay guys, so as you know, these are the front TT brakes, and thankfully I've been able to squeeze the pistons back, so at least I know that they're free and they're not seized, which is obviously really good news. This is the side I've started trying to clean up. I haven't actually touched this side. These calipers actually come with quite a good coating on them, so I'm thinking that the best thing to do is probably just clean it and then paint on top of that, rather than trying to rub it off like I've done here. It's proven a little bit difficult, and as for the caliper carriers, they're always a nightmare because of all of the contours and the nooks and crannies. But yeah, I'm going to crack on with these front ones first anyway and try and get them ready. And then as for the rears, two of them I won't be using. It will be these two that I'm using, but I had to buy more calipers to get the carriers, as you know already. So I'll just be rubbing these down, cleaning up these caliper carriers and trying to prep them for a little bit of paint too, and taking off the mechanisms on the rear so that I can do a much better job. I've taken all of the little sliding pins and the little gaiters that come on the caliper carriers off, on the front and the back, just so that I can get a little bit better access as well. And then I'll be cleaning them up and making sure that they're properly lubricated before they go back in. But for now, it's seeming like a very lengthy process. I know some people can shot blast, bead blast, sand blast, whatever, and get a much better result, but I'm just trying to work with what I've got here at home. But yeah, gonna crack on, and I'll kind of stop halfway through the process, and you guys can see how it's going. Now guys, I just wanted to show you the difference between the two different sides. This side, I've literally used a sponge, a wire brush, and some water to clean the caliper and the caliper carrier. This side over here, I've used a little bit of paint stripper, I've used wire brushes, wire wheel, sponge and water. Obviously, the only difference between the two is that the coating is still fully on this, and the coating or paint, whatever you want to call it, on this side is coming off. Now, the only reason why I started to get rid of it on this side is because if you can see, there are chips and cracks in it, and I didn't want it to start coming away from the actual caliper and then taking the paint that I put on off with it. So at the minute, I'm not too sure what to do. I think I may end up rubbing these down just a little bit in the spots where it needs to be taken away, and see how I go from there. So the rear brakes have had the majority of the paint stripped off them. The calipers, they're pretty much down to bare metal. They do have a little bit of corrosion on the insides of them, and where I thought it was all dirt and caked on dirt and brake dust and stuff, it may actually just be a bit of corrosion. As for the caliper carriers, they're coming along their way, but I was running out of battery on my cordless angle grinder anyway, obviously with the wire wheel brush type attachment on the top of it. As for the fronts, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be using my Dremel to get into all of the little nooks and crannies. If I show you how effective it is, pretty good at getting into the small tight spaces, so I'm going to be using that now on these two, and then I'll turn my attention to these and back to the rears as well. So this is one of the front calipers, and I believe it's pretty much ready. I've completely cleaned it up now, back to pretty much bare metal, and I've just wiped it down and sprayed it with some brake cleaner. So next step for this will be painting it, but I want to get everything ready and paint it all in one shot, so I'm going to set this to the side for now and get on with the next thing. And this is the caliper carrier or caliper bracket to go with it. Almost all of the coating's off, but it doesn't actually make a difference in areas like this, because to be honest with you, the metal's got a texture to it anyway, and you can still feel it through. There's just a very, very thin layer in the odd place, but this is pretty much going to be ready soon as well, so I'll have to start moving on to the rears. So just a quick progress update on one of the front calipers. You can see areas that I've rubbed down, and these are areas that were cracked, where the paint or coating, whatever you want to call it, was cracked, and it had actually started to rust, bubble and bubble up the paint. So all I've done with this caliper is rubbed those areas down so that they're smooth and they've gone nice and flat, and as level as I can get them with the rest of the coating. So once I've fully cleaned this and gone over this literally with a fine tooth comb, and I've done all the little areas and I've removed the brake pipe, then I'll clean it up completely, probably use a bit of brake cleaner and some kind of brush, and then this will be ready for paint. As for the caliper carrier or caliper bracket, whatever you want to call it, for the caliper that I've just shown you, I'm just doing the same kind of thing. So all these little areas you see here are areas where the paint had cracked and it was peeling away, and I've just rubbed it down back to a place where it was more solid, got rid of the rust. So this will also be ready for painting soon, just as long as I've gone over this with a fine tooth comb as well. Now these rear calipers, all they've had is a little bit of paint stripper applied to them, and it has got the majority of the paint off, along with a little bit of a wire brush just to disturb it and get all the loose flakes off. I've removed all of the levers and everything at the back. Just need to remove the brake pipe as well, but obviously once I get to this area, for now I'm keeping it on there to stop anything going inside the caliper and contaminating it. But yeah, you can see the pitting and corrosion on the inside there, so I'll just be rubbing that down to get the best I can. I know it's not going to be perfect, I know it's not going to be totally flat, but I'm just going to do the best I can and pray for some good results. So I'm going to get on with these rear calipers. As for these rear carriers, you'll know if you haven't skipped through the video that the reason why I've got 3 of them is because of a dodgy Facebook deal. But yeah, these will just require a good old rub down a little further, and then these will also be ready. The rears are obviously the easiest ones because they're small, but I'm going to crack on now. I've got all my bits, got my Dremel out here, got all my wire brushes, and I'm not going to film wire brushing them and stuff because it's a bit boring. I'm just looking for more before and afters. Right, so now everything is pretty much ready. Just ignore one of these caliper carriers, it's just going to be a spare. But now that everything's ready, I can get on with starting to paint things. I'm going to be painting everything here with a brush, but I'm just sort of going to be dabbing it on. I'm not going to be putting loads of paint and using loads of strokes. I'm just going to be doing lots of thin coats, and then as for the discs, I'll be giving the discs a good neaten up. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead. These have all been washed, they're all ready to go. But yeah, I'll start getting the first coats down. It's one of the front caliper carriers. It's turned out really nice so far, still not finished with it. This is one of the front Audi TT calipers. Still got some more to do on it, but again, it's coming along really nicely. Now here's one of the rear caliper carriers as well, which has also turned out really nicely so far. Just a few more coats on some of the bits. Alright guys, here's one of the rear calipers. Like I said before, these weren't in the best of conditions in the beginning, to be honest with you. There was a lot of corrosion on the inside, but I've managed to get rid of most of it and give it a nice coat of paint or two. They still need more coats, but I'm going to start preparing the discs, so I'll show you what the discs are like. Right guys, so here's one of the Audi TT front discs. This is a 312mm vented disc. All I'm going to do with this is rub it back down with the wire wheel on these kind of areas here, just to get rid of some of the corrosion, and then I'll be giving it a lick of paint to sort of prevent that happening in the future. And the same, hopefully with the vents, I can give them a bit of paint as well. and I'll show you the rears now. Right, so here's one of the rear discs, 232mm vented. As you can see, it's a lot newer than the Audi TT front discs. These still actually have some paint, I believe, which might be from the manufacturers on them, and on the side of the vents as well. So these will just be getting a simple treatment, and I'll be looking for something of this effect for the front brakes as well. Right guys, so here are the discs. Obviously front ones at the top, rear ones at the back. As you can see on this disc, this is the one that I've taken the time to clean so far. This side I haven't. So as you can see, they've actually turned out pretty well just from cleaning them up, so they're ready to be painted. This is one of the rear ones that I've completely cleaned up. And this one, what I actually did earlier is I had a little bit of paint left on the paintbrush. I just went over the middle part of the disc, just really roughly, the slightest bit. So they're actually pretty good without having to be rubbed down. And I'll just show you the back of these front ones as well, because this one, it's quite a mess. Again, quite corroded, but the one that I've spent a little bit of time on comes out a lot better and a lot nicer, and I should be able to give a nice layer of paint on the inside as well, so it comes out more like these here. Right guys, so I've got everything here ready. As you can see, everything's been painted, and all the little parts you can see around the edge of the sliding pins, and the nuts and bolts, mechanisms, springs, everything that go on the rear and front calipers, and the caliper carriers of course as well. And yeah, everything's all been painted, everything's ready to go on. I've just got to build the calipers back up with all the little bits and bobs, but it's all turned out really well. I'm really happy with it. So for example, rear calipers, caliper carriers, and all of the little bits and bobs, we'll take a closer look at them in a minute. Rear discs, same over there with the calipers. Front discs, front caliper carriers and all the sliding pins and everything, front calipers themselves and all the bits that go with them. So I'll break it down to you guys now. I'll sort of show you all the bits and bobs and what's happening with them. Right guys, so taking a look at the front calipers, they turned out really nice, man. Don't really know what else to say about them. They're pretty easy. This paint, if you watched the video on the Fiesta, I said that this paint's really good. I've just put 2 new dust caps over the bleed nipples. Underneath, these calipers have turned out really nicely as well. It's quite a simple, easy job if you guys want to give it a go yourself and you've got the know-how with brakes. It's a nice and satisfying job to do, and it's taken me a while. I've filmed this over several days because I've had an hour here and there to do them, but they've come out really nice. So that's the front calipers. Front caliper carriers, these also turned out really well and they're easy. Obviously one of them I prepped fully, the other one I didn't prep as much. One got taken back to bare metal and one didn't, but you can't really tell the difference at all. Obviously I know that these are going to look nice when they go on, but obviously they're going to get dirty, they're going to get covered in brake dust and they'll probably be totally ruined, but it was all worth it. Well, here are all of the bits to go along with the front calipers. Obviously we've got the retaining clips. We've got these 2 rubber pieces here which actually house these sliding pins. They slide in and out of those. The caps for them to obviously trap all the grease and prevent dust from getting in, and the bolts for the caliper carriers all came out well as well. So in a little bit I'll be putting all of these back on the calipers, ready to go on the car. Now guys, onto the rear calipers. As with the fronts, turned out really well. That paint really is amazing. Obviously I put in enough time with prep work too. These also have 2 new dust caps for the bleed nipples on them. I'll just show you the underside. Right guys, all the mechanisms, nuts, bolts, springs from the rear calipers are all here. All been treated to a nice clean up just with a wire wheel. They're ready to go on, so I will be putting the rear calipers back together nicely, lubricating them too. before they go on the car. I'll be doing that tonight. Last but not least, the 312mm vented front discs. Liquor paint around the centre just to stop them from getting all crusty and rusty again. They just took a quick wire wheel, quick bit of paint, no problem. They were also looking quite crusty on the vents, so again, quick wire wheel, quick lick of paint. Now they look so much better. Same with the middle here, nothing special, but just a quick wire wheel, quick lick of paint, just so that they're in better condition, that's all. Alright guys, so it's exactly the same story with these rear discs, apart from these were pretty new when I got them, so just touched them up a little bit. Again, just a quick freshen up on the vents as well, quick freshen up on the inside of the rears, and that is it pretty much done. So I'm just going to build the calipers up and then they're ready to go on the car whenever I get a chance. Rear calipers are all built back up, caliper carriers too. Front calipers also built back up and ready to go. So everything's looking really good, and everything I'm sure is going to function great when it goes on the car. Just need to get a chance to put it all on there now. So yeah man, that's it really. It's taken me a long time because of the amount of time I've had and haven't had, but they're all done. Right guys, so the brakes are ready to go on the car now. In one of the videos that will be coming up soon, I'll be fitting them to the car. Just at the time I don't have enough time to go and do that whole job at once, so I have to wait for a day when I've got enough time to spend a couple of hours just getting those brakes on. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, they cost me a couple of £100 to get all those bits. I think I just need spacers for the rear caliper carriers, and I also need to get some rear pads, and then I'm good to go. Maybe just some brake fluid as well, but I'm sure they're going to make a real big difference to the car. In terms of how it looks, it's not going to make too much of a difference because you can't really see the brakes that well through these Montreals or through the 3SDM wheels that I have. But obviously braking performance and just longevity of the brakes themselves will be a lot better now that I've got those kind of like minor refurbished brakes that I've done myself. So guys, stick around because obviously I've got a lot more stuff coming on the XR2. I've now got a front mount intercooler for the Golf, so things are going to be rolling in terms of that as well, and hopefully I can get it mapped soon. Just a few more bits to go, obviously injectors, fuel pump and a few other things before the car's going. Obviously I want to fit the brakes as well, so it's in the sights, and hopefully it'll be coming soon. But guys, thanks for coming to watch. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.